So like we're talking about toxic masculinity, and I think a lot of people in the especially gay community would just be like, it doesn't exist in our community. That's like a straight people thing.
And this should not be confused with being masculine, because some people are just bro as it comes, and other people
Mhm.
are just really effeminate, and everything in between. We are a spectrum, because along with toxic masculinity, there is that whole like weird thing of somebody, you're not being gay enough, you're not being this, you're not being that, which is a very small percentage. They're just really, some people are just really loud. Because if I have to read, am I the only one who doesn't have abs, a jawline, and like RuPaul's Drag Race and shopping? No, bitch, you're not. Because if you were, nobody would be married. And you will notice that most people married do not have abs and jawlines, because what up? There's this obsession. I have never met so many people who think about dick more than alpha bro straight guys. They are so concerned with what other men are doing. And I'm like, focus on yourself. And it's always God, country, family, and guns, and I got to shoulder the burden of my whole family. And I'm like, dude, your wife is capable of working and talking out finances with you, and you are super capable of putting your fucking dirty clothes in a hamper. Grow up. Like, oh my God, this is not the 500s. We are not hunting and gathering every day.
Well,
You're
remember,
going to a cute little white church on Sunday, 6 different potlucks, and your wife is shopping in a very well air-conditioned supermarket and driving an SUV and all the little blonde children back and forth. You are not struggling, okay?
I mean, though, remember a lot of those toxic men who are like that, they don't want their women working.
No, they don't. So
Stay
they
home.
self-inflict all this. I have to take care of everything because whatever unresolved daddy trauma they have. And I'm like, that's great, but does everybody have to deal with it? Like, you don't want me to make being gay your problem. Okay, we're just asking you to leave us alone and let us like be. You want us to be like you. You're fucking miserable, man. Yeah, sure. When you see somebody in a Starbucks working after they've been yelled at all day, well, they look unhappy too. Yeah, fucker, when you've been working with the public all day, you're pretty unhappy. And it doesn't matter what color your hair is, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, when the crazy thing about it is when you think about it, and we can only speak kind of to American culture since we've only lived in America, but like if you look
I
back in time in history, the view of what a man is, because that kind of boils down to that too, a lot masculinity, toxic masculinity, what a man is, has changed throughout history, like a lot. You can look at multiple different things as far as how expression of people's emotions or what they wore. Like you can go back to pink, wearing pink. Men wore pink all the time, wore wigs,
can we
and
just
like
talk
all
about the
that stuff.
80s? Literally the 80s. Every
Crop
straight
tops.
guy wore shorter shorts that I can find in stores right now.
But now those same people would
Yeah,
be like,
I
"Oh,
know.
that is gay."
The ones that were like literally in their teens and 20s in the 80s are now going, all these homosexuals are ruining the country. Fucker, you are dropping acid and doing crazy ass shit. I'm over here watching like Hulu with my husband.
Everybody has the choice growing up, if especially if they've experienced that from seeing their father do it or their grandfather do it or other people that they know do it. They have the choice to step aside from that and not act that way. A lot of times that's hard to do, but it is something that you can do. But I think also in that, if you have grown up and you have this portrait of like what masculine is, especially if you're younger and you're growing up, that when you do come out, um, I think you can also have a hard time in trying to do that, because you can look at it as like, oh, I'm out, I don't have to pretend to be straight anymore. But when you do come out, there is that struggle to maybe butch it up a bit,
I would
because
absolutely agree. And you know what's weird? You kind of start redefining yourself. Like, I still like cars and sports, but I did not realize how subconsciously I shielded myself from looking or reading about things that would be considered more effeminate or gay or And I was like, wow, I can still like all the same music. I still like all the same things. I'm still myself. I'm still mad. They're like, oh, that's not who you were before, you know, and things. I'm like, no, because you didn't fucking know me.
Because, well, also you can look at it from the front, like, okay, uh, you know, you say I'm gay, but maybe you want to dress more feminine. Maybe that's something that you have now finally decided
I
you
just tell
want
you
to
what I
do.
wanted to do most. This is so
What?
sounds. I just wanted my clothes to fucking fit. I wanted to buy clothes that fit because I was so skinny.
Uh-huh.
Everything hung on me. But that's yeah, you look masculine like that.
Oh.
This is fucking stupid. I'm tired of I want my shirt to like I got a cold breeze one day and about flew across the ocean. You know, because I was like 100 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Waist, nothing fit.
Yeah.
Every pair of jeans was low rise on me because I had like a 27-inch waist. And then, you know, yes, I had a slutty waist. Okay. And actually I still kind of do.
Yeah,
um,
he does. But yeah, I mean,
but I mean,
but
yeah,
the
you're completely right. And it was this whole thing of when I was in quotes straight, the nobody talked to me because I wasn't masculine enough to attract anybody, and I was I needed to walk different. I needed to talk different. I needed to have a different kind of car. And I'm like, the people telling me this could not even identify the parts of a car.
but then the thing is you still have to like defend yourself within the gay community as well, of being masculine or not masculine enough.
Yeah,
You know,
I
because there's like
gravitate.
on
I gravitate
sites.
away from people who I have very masculine butch friends, and they do not give two fucks how feminine I am or am not, and vice
Mhm.
versa. And it's never really been a topic of discussion other than the occasional, does that ever bother you? Nah. You know? And then the other ones, you know, you can just find thread after thread on Twitter about people just jumping all over others. And because of some offhanded comment they said, they're like, look at this deep-seated toxic masculinity. And I'm like, they like soccer. Shit. They just like sports. Like that's just their style. Like
Yeah.
you're not gonna expect somebody who is raised in like the woodlands of whatever state they're from to have the same feel as a person as somebody who was raised in the middle of the city. I mean, I was literally raised in poor areas in a trailer park, and it very much shows sometimes, which is wild. My grandparents are very cultured, and I have seen a lot of the country now, so it's really odd to think about where I'm from and be sitting here and in a very normal neighborhood, normal again in quotes, and think, is this considered? This is supposed to be considered masculine, but I guess cleaning my house is not masculine. But if somebody sees your
Nope.
house dirty, they're like, you live like this? Oh, cooking, washing, and sewing is for women, but a man who can cook like a chef is fucking celebrated. If
Yeah, there's a lot of contradictions in it, and
like,
when you actually like think
always
about
like,
it and look
and
at
it
it.
really it caused me to detach and break from tradition very early. I got very tired of it.
I think also like when you look at toxic masculinity within the gay community, the easiest way to, I guess, like probably like look at it and spot the first signs of it would be like people on dating websites or different things like that who have in their profiles like mask for mask or no fats, no films, no Asians, etc. Things like that. That's the good first way to spot some of that toxicity within the community.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that. And, you know, I really, even because I consider myself more effeminate, I didn't have a problem with someone not being attracted to my personality. And sometimes that could be the effeminate part of my personality. Maybe it just doesn't do it for them. They're not saying, now, my problem is if you refuse to be friends with somebody because of that, that's my biggest problem. If you were to meet in a public area and click with each other, but you refuse to allow a friendship to happen because they're effeminate, because someone's masculine, that is just straight up dumb. I think it's okay to be a little bit like, you don't make my dick hard if I'm going to put my penis inside you, or we're going to have sexual contact
Yeah.
because
Well, and my thing is, I don't think you need to put that. I don't think you need to put that out there that you don't want that.
yeah, I don't
Just you
understand.
don't.
Like,
You can just like
allow conversation to organically happen. You
yeah,
know,
and it doesn't mean you have to like date them. Like you can become friends with someone or just not even message them. You know
don't need to say anything. Like it doesn't.
exactly.
I mean, it's like well, I did see it costs nothing to be nice. it's also free to be a huge bitch, you know. You know.
As Matt was talking about with throwing the religion in there too, like patriarchy and or masculinity kind of like is tied to patriarchy, and it's tied to like religious beliefs, political beliefs, and societal structures, and that is kind of what overlooks what that masculinity is, and that's what it's all like based on. That, you know, being in power or like kind of being over someone and telling someone what to do. When you think of masculinity today, everyone likes to try to put it into like a binary system of you're masculine or not masculine. And
Right.
I think thankfully, if we look at younger generations today and then even older generations who like actually educate themselves and even learn, so maybe you are someone who did portray things of toxic masculinity or have some of these beliefs. But if you learn from those things and educate yourself, I think that's a great thing. But I think what we're seeing today is kind of a blurring of lines for a lot of people on that masculinity line of it not being yes or no. And I think you're seeing that with a lot of things, even just with sexuality, I think. And you're seeing a lot of people who are just
Well, you know, it's
bi.
like if you're a top, you're more masculine, blah blah blah.
Yes.
You know, the very heteronormative thing, and I'm just like,
And
I
that is all in the queer community who have kind of continued to
and I
put
and I
that.
understand like the need to categorize and label because that's what the brain does. That's how we
Yeah, yeah,
process and understand. And I just wish people would see that it's okay to just be. Like,
yeah.
exist. We're allowed to exist. We have the privilege of existing solely for the purpose of existing. I will tell you, I have seen a lot of people on their deathbed. I have wheeled people down to the morgue. That is part of my job. Not one of them in their last days of life mentioned, wow, I wish I'd been more masculine. Most of them say, I wish I'd taken more time for myself. I wish I'd just been myself. One of my patients who is suffering from advanced dementia was telling me he didn't realize I was gay, and I did not disclose that to him because it didn't come up, and I didn't feel comfortable. It's not something I feel comfortable disclosing. If they ask me directly, I don't lie because I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
if you're comfortable enough to ask me, you probably already know the answer. And this is the Pacific Northwest. And but with his advanced dementia, while married with children and everything, he told our CNA a story of how he had fallen in love with this guy when he was younger, and he was his everything, but it couldn't be because that was the time. And you know, the soldier that came out recently,
I
who
was
this
going to
man
mention
fought
that.
on the battlefield, but he was more afraid to say who he loved publicly
Mm-hmm.
than he was to be shot on a battlefield and possibly injured or killed and not come home to the person he loved, because he spent 25 years with the love of his life before they passed away as well. And I think and all people want for him that are not into this is to say, oh, he should have been married to a woman. This man was able to fight on a battlefield, go to war, not know if he was coming home, come home, basically live, laugh, and love. And the whole thing is who it was with. And I was like, y'all are really concerned about the wrong things,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it, Matt, as we wrap up, is basically just like be yourself. Uh, Try not to like get caught up in labels.
Right.
Um,
Just it's okay to exist. And I think that's such an important message. There was a drag queen who talked about oh gosh, it was a chemical explanation about it was like kind of like electrons, protons, neutrons,
mhm.
and about how certain reactions and certain things just are. They are just because they are. And he was, or she, in drag persona, if she said, if they can be, why can't we? You know, like, what does it matter? Like, for example, like somebody putting on a costume and reading a story, we would laugh if they put on if somebody went in and put a Hansel and Gretel costume on and read books. What's it matter if a drag queen is reading books as a character? It's a
Mhm.
character, but people don't understand that. They see this gross blurring of masculine and feminine, and can't understand something that's existed since the beginning of it. They clearly did not pay attention in English 1 in ninth grade, because women weren't allowed to be any of these parts. So all the
Mhm.
men were all the women's parts forever.
Yeah.
forever.
There that I feel like that's a good way to wrap it up, in that things were totally different back then,
But they're
and
also
now
exactly the same.
yeah. So,
We're
like,
still assholes to each other.
don't make such a big deal out of things, people. Anyway, I know most of our listeners don't, but uh, I think it takes a cohesive group, the village of people together who have these beliefs, and they go out and, like, try to change people's minds. Because again, I think there are people whose minds can be changed, and people within the community who don't even realize maybe they're doing something. It's just all about education, and then educating yourself and learning from things, and not like just being like, oh, I know everything and I don't need to learn anything new. Well, Matt, I'm glad that you joined us here, and thank all of y'all for joining us for this episode. That's Mouthful, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to That's a Mouthful. If you loved what you heard today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep up with all our latest episodes. And we've got more than just episodes. Join us on social media to be part of our vibrant community and keep the conversation going. Follow us, dive into discussions, and share your thoughts. Want to support the show and get some fabulous perks? Check out our Patreon page. Your support helps us bring even more great content and keeps the party going. Every bit helps, and we truly appreciate it. So, until next time, keep that mouthful.